Students, IFPF IEEE student branch. Thanks to all organizers for arranging such a workshop. It's beneficial to all of those who are in their proposal phase who are starting in their research. So our topic today is how to write a good research proposal. And this topic actually for both students, that is whether they are doing their masters by thesis or PhD, that is Doctor of Philosophy. So it's beneficial for both a student, that is master and PhD, but in the research mode. So beneficial for both. And this is little bit the details of mine, that is presented details. My name, department, Google Scholar profile, LinkedIn profile, ResearchGate, Facebook, SlideShare, emails, Twitter, and this one is my academic background, and this one are my professional experience. I have worked at different places. At K Electric, I have worked also. I worked at Subsidiary University of Engineering and Technology, and presently I am working at assistant professor at NID University of Engineering and Technology since from 2006 till date now. These are my professional memberships. Senior member IEEE since from 2018. Since I have completed my Doctor of Philosophy degree, I have the opportunity for senior member IEEE, and life member of Pakistan Engineering Council when I was graduated since from 1998, and life member IEP Karachi chapter, life member IEEE Pakistan chapter, and this so on. So let's move the main objectives of today's webinar. Our main objectives of today's webinar are to outline the important trends in the research, right? And to assess the strength and weakness of existing research, because you need to build up your proposal. You cannot until unless you find your strength and weaknesses of the previous ones. And you need to identify the potential gap in the existing knowledge, in the existing literature body, and in the existing era of this scientist society. Similarly, you need to develop your own hypothesis, depends on your literature review, depends on your um, experiments, depend on your working. And similarly, you have your research question and motivation, why you're doing some such and so, and what is the motivation behind that, and why you start this work, right? So proposal fundamentals, what is the fundamentals of the research proposal, you can learn through the our learning outcomes are you need to understand the route for writing a very good research proposal so that it can be accepted, and successful defend your proposal. You will given some tips how to defend your proposal successfully, and you need some basic techniques for writing a good research proposal. This one is a research write-up actually. It's a start from project title, then some research information, then methodology, your research objectives, executive summary, research background, your expected results, or what you can say, the benefits, and the budget, right? Because you have budgeting all your projects or your research proposal. You have to do all these 8 points to have your very good research proposal, right? Okay, so before going to the research proposal, you must know the writing ethics. You know, do not need to copy your friends' ideas or your friend any sentences, right? Any figures, any tables from any other proposal or any other research paper. You need to have your own idea. You need to have your own hypothesis. You need to have your own um, thinking or your own philosophy and you must need to have your references so that you can acknowledge the other researchers, and you must have some hypothesis at the end after critical reviewing the articles so that you can make a very good research proposal. This one is a research flow chart. You can see start from introduction, then literature review, then methodology, and your preliminary results, statement of the limitations, and finally the conclusions. So you need to have a clear idea about your intro, that why you start this work, why you start this work, right? What is the motivation of this work? Where is the loophole? Where is the flaws of this work, right? Then you have to develop your own method to solve that particular problem, or either you may own your method, or you may own the idea of your own, right? So after you propose some method, you need to do have some experiments, and on the cost of experiments, you got some preliminary results, which are very important to support your proposal, right? To support your hypothesis, right? So you need to ask this question to yourself: what, when, why, how, right? And you need to answer all these questions. If you successfully answer these questions, nobody stop you your proposal, right? So finally, you have some limitations of your work, right? You limit your work in certain areas, certain fields. So limitations are very important. If it doesn't, do not put limitations, then it will make not a good impression on the readers, because research is focusedly done, right, on some specific issues, and with come up with the conclusion, then how you would do, what is the future trend, and what is the um, future trends after this, how it may be extended, this work, how this work may be extended to some extensive works. So there are some what qualities of a good research proposal. You need to analyze, synthesize, and interpret the information which you read, but should be in a meaningful way. So that meaningful way, you can uh, come to up with the problem, and your proposal must be good enough so that it attracts the audience, and it must be read by the examiners as well, right? So you need to think something which is beyond, right, out of the box. Try to think at the time of proposal, because once you develop a very good proposal, it's very difficult for the examiners to reject your proposal, or refuse your proposal, right? So your proposal should have some qualities we'll discuss later on, and you must think that something which is from your own pocket, right? Your own method, your own idea. You come up with your novel idea. So there are some elements of the proposal. You need to have significance of your study, why your study is important, what is the significance of this research, why you are doing such and such things, what is the incentives of that things, right? What problem comes out from your problem? How do you get the problem from the literature, right? The key questions, the academic pursuits, the research plan, the methods, right? And the research questions which are addressed, right, and addressed properly. Similarly, your preliminary results are very important, because it shows that you have done something, and you want to achieve something, and later on you will definitely achieve. And it must show the contribution of knowledge. Is it that some contribution in the existing knowledge body? So this is very important. So one thing is very important, that your proposal must be attractive. So what makes it attractive? Because you need to have your proposal which have zero mistakes, right? Properly formatted, no grammatical mistake, no spelling mistakes, right? No formatting mistakes, and it must be a standalone document, and it must be approved by your supervisor before going to the committee of the examiners. It should be approved by your supervisor, right? So if it is attractive, definitely nobody decline it, nobody refuse it, and definitely your proposal go for evaluation committee, and evaluation committee will evaluate your proposal, right? So this one is the structure of the proposal. Actually, you need to write basic 5 chapters, right? Start from title, your name, your supervisor name, and then you start from very first chapter, that is introduction. Then you do literature review, the second chapter. Then from literature review, you will come out with the problem statement, and from problem statement, you have come out with your objectives and a scope, and your own research methodology, or whatsoever research design which you have designed for solve a particular problem. You propose methodology, your results, your contributions, references, and list of publications. If you do some review and send it to some journal, then it has some worth, because it gives good impression to the examiners that that candidate have been done with his review completed and submitted in some journal, and your article being in review. So it's given worth and give a chance to proposal to be accepted, right? Very less chances to be rejection. If your review got in under review, your review article will get have a chance to publish, because at proposal time you have a chance to publish your review. When you complete your research, you have a chance to publish your own work in ISI and high impact factor journals. So must take care about your presentation style, which is very important, because you have a chance to cover your mistakes which have done in your written report. So you need to have your short forms, that is use tables and figures instead of long paragraphs, because nobody read the paragraphs, and does not you not need to start reading your slides right in front of examiners. It gives a bad impression. So you have complete uh, control on your research problem, and you should speak in front of them, right? Do not read the slides in front of them. It gives not a a good impression, right? So be consistent, and should be your color theme, your layout, everything should be in uniform order, right? In same order. So get ready for the proposal. You should maybe you present in front of live audience, sometimes in conference, sometime in your research group, and sometime in front of your supervisor or co-supervisor. So you get some comments from your review committee, mock viva, or you can say mock, like before you present final, you can present in front of your research group, so that comments come in front of you, and you can refine your proposal, right? So, presentation day, on the day of presentation, make sure that you are present before your examiners, and you should print the proposal, and you should give the handouts to the examiners, that is printed copy of your slides and printed copy of your actually this was submitted earlier, but on that day you can also give, and you should have some pointer, so that you can point out, or with the LED you can explain each and everything, right? And don't about means power cord, everything should be there, so that examiners or nobody can waste his time in something else, right? So dress well, be on time panel, because it's have important that panel can see that you are on time, you are committed, right? You are focused. So um, don't make your examiners exhaust by taking the print from their own. You should print out everything, rubrics or whatsoever, and then distribute to the examiners, right, and the committee. Make sure that you are confident, not arrogant, and not aggressive, right? Make eye contact with the examiners, make eye contact with the panels, so that they feel that you are confident enough to defend, right? If you do not make eye contact, you are just reading and you are looking here and there. This gave an impression, bad impression to the examiners, to the committee, that you wouldn't do anything, right? They wouldn't, or you wouldn't focus, you wouldn't clarify your things, right? So do animations and make sure that everything should be clear. Your voice must be clear in front of examiners. Your presentation should be very clear. How to handle your mistakes? Actually, sometimes it happens when you submit your proposal report, then there may be some formatting, spell, grammatical, whatsoever the mistakes are there. You have a chance to handle your mistakes by giving a presentation, that is PPT, in a very good style, in a very confidence, right? With the eye contact continuously with the examiners, and let them ask the questions whatever they feel, and don't be too offensive at that time. just defensive because you are defending your proposal, right? It's not final. It's not final that you have done something. Actually, it is an idea you want to do, right, in the future. So how you would do, what is your research plan? It should be very, very clear, right? So the examiners, the committee will suggest you that your work is important or not important, or sometimes they may suggest you that you should add something in your work. Sometimes they suggest you should subtract something from your work. So it is better you do homework, that is you do more things, because subtraction is easy, addition may be difficult. You need to add some things, so you can handle your mistakes at that time. This one is a section for the introduction. Means when you write your chapter, the very first chapter introduction of your proposal, then you should be answered these questions very clear in your mind. What is the problem to be solved, and what are the existing solutions, and what is the best among all, and what is the main limitation, and what is your hypothesis? Means how would you come to this hypothesis, why you want to solve this problem with this method, with this idea, what is the importance of your idea, what is the importance of your method, right? So you should clearly answer all these questions in intro. If you answer all these questions, um, your introduction chapter seems perfect, right? Nobody object on your introduction section. Then your effectiveness of the proposal is very important, that how you get effective, and it will attract the examiners, and your perception, how would you write. In most of the cases, the examiner had in mind that reading your written proposal, but sometimes some things are overlooked, so you need to present it very well. So remember, keep in mind that proposal must be written by you, by your own words, right? Don't take the help from the friends or whatsoever. It should be right by you, right? Because when you write by yourself, you can learn a lot, so many things, right? And you're capable to defend your own words, own sentences, right? So be away from the plagiarism, be away from the copyrights, this Turnitin, that is, you must be less than 20%, right? So if it is more than 20%, then by default it is fail and it is academic theft. So be away from that. And proposal should not be very long. It should be very concise, and more, maybe 20 to 30, or sometimes the requirement is long. So maybe 40 pages, but not more than that, right? Because it is a proposal, not a final thesis. The effectiveness of proposal may also get increased when you discuss your proposal, or when you share a proposal with your colleagues and experts. For example, your supervisor, your co-supervisor, when they go through from your proposal, they find errors, they find mistakes, and they will give you comments. So once you encounter all the comments of the supervisor, of the experts, your proposal get refined and it becomes effective, right? But if you does not give your proposal to anybody to read, just you will read yourself, because you will see with your eye, and there is no mistake for yours, because you see with your eyes, you think that it is perfect, but actually it is not perfect, right? There are sometimes mistakes. Sometimes the experts give you the comments that you should shift this table, or shift this figure from chapter 2 to chapter 3, or chapter 3 to chapter 1. So these are very important. The experts, they know that where to place figure, where to place table, and which words or which sentences are attractive and eye catching. So they guide you every time. So must be go through from some expert, right, before going to the committee. So scope of work is very important. You need to have your limitations, right? And you must know the limitation of your work. In certain limits, in certain boundaries, you are working actually. So it must be clear, right, in the proposal. And if it is not clear in the proposal, then it must be clear in your PPTs, right? When you defending your proposal, you should tell examiners very clearly that your boundary limits are this. You are doing this by considering this, that, and this, right? So you need to do a critical review, so that critical issues and future research also play a very important role in the proposal. When you criticize, and then there is some hypothesis to criticize, why you are criticizing, what you saw, what is the loophole, what is the shortcomings, what are the limitations of the previous work, so that examiners got agree that your work have some worth. And yes, it is a research proposal. It seems to be a research proposal. And be careful that what examiners are looking for, actually the committee in front which you are defending a proposal, your literature review must be not be very big, just up to 5 years, and the relevant literature must be precise and focused, and your problem must be come out from very recent research paper, not very old, right? So it gives an impression to the examiners that you are having in touch with the recent research which is ongoing. If you start a problem which is not recent, it was working earlier 5 years ago, 10 years ago, then they said that it's obsolete. Then people are not working, right? So just take issue which is very relevant, very recent, right? And remember that maybe examiners attack on you, and but you need to have your calm and cool with proper justification, right? In that you need to have defensive mode, not offensive, because it's a proposal, right? So remember that actually examiners are there to refine you, right? Examiners are there to polish you. They want to polish your proposal, right? They want to be a very good outcome of your research. So they give a very valuable comments. They give very valuable suggestions. So be patient and listen to them what they are saying. You can argue at those things which you are confident, right? So, while developing your proposal, source of information or is very play a very important role in quality publication. So, source of information must be authentic. That it's the document which you are referencing. It must be from Web of Science or from journal, book chapter, from any journal, right? Because conference articles are not have so worth, right? Conference articles are not so what you can say innovative or very good enough, right? But the journal articles, yes, they are very good. So your references must be come out from very good authentic sources. So be careful about your source of information, because if the source of information is authentic, then it gives an impression on the examiners that the authentic source must have authentic problem by researcher, right? That means researcher have done which is which comes out from very authentic sources, and the source of information should be correct, right? So when you do it, start from literature survey. You start from literature survey. So be careful. You should read each and every article related to your field, right? If you missed any single article, then it is not supposed to be completed, right? So very important phase of literature survey. Be careful and make sure that proposal study has not previously performed and reported. Means you why your study is important, why your hypothesis is important, and make sure that it is not previously performed or reported in any research article, right? But carefully point out flaws and research work so that problem statement can be made very strong. Because if the problem statement is strong, believe me, nobody stop you to go ahead, right? But if your problem statement got weak, then people starting criticize you that you are not you not sort out the problem, right? So be concise and be focused on your literature, right? By making literature. So and also one thing that when you do literature survey, give acknowledgement also, right? The people have done different works, and also acknowledge them, right? Don't always criticize. Sometimes some points you may criticize, but not all the points are right. You may encourage also the previous research, right? So it is also the ethics of publications. You need to encourage the previous research, right? So very important part, that is your objectives, your research objectives. It's very play a very important role, because that objectives comes from the problem statement, right? So objectives are basically purpose of your work, and whether you do master or PhD whatsoever, two or three objectives are enough. but your objective must be quantifiable, right? Means attainable, not in you can say that I'm going to fly in the air, right? You cannot say anything which is not possible, right? So it should be quantifiable, right? With your scope and limitation, under your scope and limitation. So, and best is the use the word of in objectives to develop, right? To design. These are very good words. So if you write like the study of or to understanding, right? These are not objective, right? Study, understanding. It was just a literature survey, or it was chapter two. So in proposed objectives, you come out with some design, with new design, right? With enhanced something, right? With improve something, right? To develop something, right? To enhance something, to improve something, right? So come out with your objectives with some quantifiable and these things, right? So, how to win the proposal? How you win a proposal? Obviously, you need something that is should be measurable and should be agreed between you and examiner, and should be realistic, right? Do not say want to fly in the air, and do not say which is not possible, right? And you have a time bond. That's why you give a Gantt chart for that timeline. That in that particular timeline with that resources, you need to complete your research, right? So it should be in a meaningful way so that you can win the proposal, right? This is an uh, narrow down. You can start from broader issues, then you can see that the studies which overlap with your research, and the studies which overlap with your investigation, means what you are investigating, right? So be focused and be precise, because you start from surface area, right? You're talking about general things, then you come to a specific issue, right? So research is basically done with some specific issues, not with the broader, not with on the surface area, right? Not the general words, right? So you have to be very specific about your problem, very focused, right? And finally, you are converging to some point, right? You are focusing to some point, and you are focused with your investigation, what you want to investigate, what you want to uh, uh, solve the problem, by which method. Okay, these are some hints or points before presentation day, that before presenting presents your work to the committee or examiners. Obviously, when you do anything, being a Muslim, you need to have a salat hajat before going to the exam, and sadaqah, charity, sometimes, right? Because sometimes some things which are beyond you, beyond your control, right? So make let's pray to Allah. He will open your mind and heart, and you will speak in front of committee. So um, sometimes the proposal you have written is not written by, I mean, not read by you. So it should be read by you and by other colleagues so many times so that it gets refined, right? And be careful about everything that works on exam day. Projector, right? Your cable, your laptop should be full charge, right? And you have a backup of your presentation slides, Google Drive, Dropbox, email, so many, right? Don't rely on your because sometimes your pen drive get affected from viruses or something happens, right? So you have backup of everything. Means you do not let anything to examiners to say that it is a lagness of you, right? So please be careful about that. And now it is very important that you need to make a relevance of your work with other research area. So once you can see in this animation that this guy has to fix this into this, right? So when you develop your hypothesis, then you must relate your work with the previous research work, right? So until unless you find the relevancy, it is not a good proposal, right? When once you find the relevancy, and once you find that yes, it is relevant to the previous work, and the flaws of the previous work was such and such, so and so, such and so, am I going to solve this problem with my own method or with my own idea? So relevance. Once you got relevance, it makes a very good proposal, and it's make no hesitation to reject, right? So research design, as I've told you earlier, it start in the beginning of this presentations. What, where, when, why, how. So ask this question: what to do, when to do, where to do, how to do. Right. So let's decide your working tool in the beginning of the research, that what tool you are using. For example, you are using MATLAB or what ETAB softwares, right? Or any other Python or any other open source, but you need to have focus, right? And examiners want to see that if your plan A B, then plan A fails, and how you works, right? What is your plan B? How you design, how you work, right? What is your available resources, what is the time, what is the cost, right? Everything is important. So you need to have your own research design, right? Have your Gantt chart in which every timeline is shown very clearly, right? So it is better practice to have your flow chart or Gantt chart, right? So that it give an impression that you are serious enough to do your research in such and such time, in such and such resources, right? So planning is also the phase of research. Actually, examiners want to see that how you plan, right, and how your plan will be executed. So the proposed method, that is because it is proposal. So you propose some method. So your method should be your real work, right? And examiners would look after that whether this method has some importance, it is viable, and your problem statement, whether you address a research or academic problem or not, right? And whether your problem statement supports objectives or not, right? And because you start from problem statement, then outcome with the objectives, then with the methodology, then with the results, and then finally with the conclusion, right? So all these must be in a synchronized way, right? Means everything should be crystal clear. Your statement problem should be clear. The objectives comes out from that statement should be clear. Then methodology must reflect on objectives, right? Then your results must reflect on your methodology. Then your conclusions support all your hypothesis, right, in the final. So it should be academic problem, and it should show at least some contribution at that level, right? That's why I have said earlier that you have some preliminary results, some outcomes and expected results in your proposal. It gives a worth to your proposal, right? If you don't do anything and you just do theories, and it will give the impression to the examiners that you're not working or you're not seriously, right? So you should have some expected outcome. You should have some initial results, so that you initiate some problem, you say, your hypothesis support that problem, and you should go with some problem, and the results will show that yes, you are working. So as I have told you earlier, that there should be expected outcome from your results in the tool which you are working. You must know the tools, and you should grip on your tool, how you uh, working on the tool, and how it works. Actually, you need to go in depth, right? You means you have a command on your tool. You can do experiments, right? And after all, you convince the examiners that yes, you are capable, and yes, you are doing something. You have some results, you have some initials, so that they can feel that yes, you have done something and you are going for some achievement, right? So it is better to show some progress, which complete your master or PhD, write papers, etc., right? It supports you. These are some key factors for the proposals that you need to prepare, and prepare very well. And remember, your examiner chosen are expert in that field. But remember, keep in mind that you need to explain your hypothesis, because you are the expert. Examiners are not the expert, right? In your area. So you are doing research, you are expert of that area. So you need to explain, but in a very friendly tone, right? And very defensive mode, but not too much defensive, right? In normal way. So you can it help examiners to helping you, right? Because when you convince them that yes, your work has some importance, it has some worth, right? It has some. influence, right? Then they becomes convince stress. These continue that key factors of your proposal, as I've told you earlier, that problem chosen, that is which problem you are chosen, right? The method you have chosen, the variables in your methods, how many, because everything should be chosen on some basis, right? So you have a very strong hypothesis for everything, the scope of work, the limitation, the approach you are going to apply. So when these things are clear in the proposal, nobody stop you, and that proposal is counted a very good proposal. And make sure that you are not defend to the death, right? It's not the life ends over here, right? It's the starting of your journey. So make your efforts, make your struggles, because you can one will say that efforts can beat hard work. Hard work can beat intelligence, but intelligence cannot beat hard work, right? So your hard work definitely it comes with some hypothesis, with some output, right? So pay attention and must finish in time. Now these are the some reasons that proposal got rejected, right? So be careful about that. Do not do these things. So if you not address the problem properly, right, and or if you not give your method clearly, your hypothesis is not clear, right? You don't have any expected outcome. You don't have. So examiners feel that you're not serious, right? You're not doing nothing. So similarly, lack of novelty. You should be careful about your novelty, your contribution. At the proposal time, you are not so sure, but at least you make some argue with the examiners that yes, you can do, right. And I've told you earlier that your preliminary results or your initial results play a very important role. Believe me in this, because when you have results, na, you may talk with the examiners, but if you have no results, if you have if you have done no experiments, if you've done nothing, you just read the material. Believe me, you can. The examiners cannot be convinced, right? Until unless you come up with them with some initial results. So be avoid all these that the rejection chances, right? Sometimes objectives are not clear, or objectives are too generic, right? You should write it to understand, to study. So these are not objectives, right? To understand or to study. So avoid generic words. Use specific words, right? And use the words that are eye-catching. Develop, design, enhance, modify, right? Similarly, sometimes the methodology is not well explained, a lack of proper detailing of research methodology and approach is not appropriate, they feel, right? And sometimes some things are obsolete and you're talking about these things, very old things. So this also the reason for the rejection. Plagiarism, as I have told you earlier, that plagiarism is a academic theft. So this is a dishonesty actually. So it should never be allowed. And unclear expected outcome, when you do not do experiments, then you are not sure about your expected outcome, right? So it happens sometimes, right? So try to avoid all these. Then your proposal must be accepted, and you follow these points, and there is no chance of rejection. If you refine all these points, there is very less chance of rejection, right? So in the end, I can say life is very short. Enjoy your study, and thanks for your patience for listening me. And now the session is open for question and answers. You are feel free to ask the questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. It was a very informative session, and I'm sure that everyone else in the meeting feels the same way. Now, I would like to say to our participants, if anyone has any questions, kindly raise your hand so we can unmute you, or type your question in the chat box along with your name and affiliation. Does anyone have any questions? Kindly raise your hand, please. Sir, we have a question in the chat box. They're asking, what tips would you give to an engineer for their resume and for this apart from this presentation, what advice would you give to an engineer in this community, in this Pakistan, industry of Pakistan?
Hmm. Okay. Can you repeat the question? Sorry. Yes.
Sir, the question is
Yes.
like, what tips would you give to an engineer in this industry of Pakistan, for today's industry of Pakistan?
Okay. 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 Actually, my advice is to every industry have their R&D, that is research and development department, R&D. So if engineer would connect to that department, R&D, they can do their research or hypothesis or whatever they develop a practical problem. They can discuss their things with the R&D or with the academia. If they are connected with the academia, that is with some professor, some teacher, then it is also a very good practice that engineers may connect to back to their academia, their academic institute, and back to the professor and discuss their ideas over there. Then the professor will guide you that how your idea will get published, right? So this is my advice.
All right. Thank you, sir. There's one more question. Can we write research paper on our mini semester projects?
Yes, sure. Why not? Because there's many projects you can do, and you can present your mini projects in the conferences. Sometimes IEEE conferences going to be held, and sometimes IEEE, IEP, they are holding some conferences. Also, our NID Engineering University also holding every year a conference, IEC. So yes, your mini projects can be presented in the conference. Why not?
Thank you, sir. Munwar Abbas has a question. I would unmute him. Munwar Abbas, please ask your question. It looks like he's having some issue with his mic. I'm going to unmute engineer Rehan Khurshid. He would like to ask a question. Mr. Rehan, kindly unmute your mic so you can ask your question.
Assalamu alaikum. I've got one question. How many wordings that should be included in research proposal, and how many research reviews minimum that should be included in research proposal? Thank you.
Yes, Walaikum Assalam. It actually depends upon the research problem. So normally, if I talk about my proposal, it was 45 references. Because if for 30 to 50 references are counted well good enough, right? So at least for me, 30 references and means above than 20, right? At least 30 references, yes, for a good research proposal.
Thank you very much, sir. We have one more question in the chat box. How
Yes.
can we realize if our research direction is up to date?
As I have told you in my lecture that you should write something and go with the experts, whether your colleagues or your supervisor or co-supervisor. So when you go to the experts, they will check your work and they will guide you that yes, you're on the track, right? And every time they will give you comments. So whenever do comply all the comments, you will on the track, definitely, with the opinion of experts. Yes.
Thank you very much, sir. Now, moving on with our event, we would like to present a little something, a small token of appreciation for our esteemed speaker. On behalf of all the participants and our entire organizing body, sir, we would like to thank you humbly for joining us today and giving us your time. It was an honor for us. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I would also like to request the participants to fill out the feedback form, since your feedback is very important to us. And we would also like to thank you for joining us today and showing interest in our events. Kindly fill out the feedback form, please. Thank you.